Good morning. It's Alan Hollander here with the morning after for January the 23rd, 2014. And today we're going to only cover a few topics because yesterday we ran out of time and unfortunately everything ended. And you're all sort of wondering, hey, what happened? But we went over our 30-minute allotment for our time period. So that's what happened yesterday, but today we shall be brief, but we shall be bringing you some of the stories behind the headlines, and some very interesting things happened overnight involving three Canadians. And we're going to talk about what happened with Mrs. Beiber's little boy, Justin, what's going on in Rob's world, and Stevie's world. You know, what's happening with Mrs. Harper's little son, Stevie, because he's done some interesting things overnight as well. So those are the three topics this morning and the stories behind the headlines. Let's talk about Justin Beiber, first of all, and what happened overnight. Well, our Canadian boy unfortunately got arrested. And he was arrested in Miami Beach and charged with driving under the influence, drag racing, and resisting arrest without violence. And the story reads something like this. It all came down about 7:30 this morning on The Wire, and this is what happened. He's being held in custody at Miami-Dade County Jail early Thursday afternoon, which is Miami time, of course, pending an appearance before a judge by video expected sometime after 1 p.m. Eastern. Television footage showed a van thought to be carrying Beiber from a Miami Beach police station to a Miami-Dade County jail. The van with blacked-out windows was trailed by squad cars. His publicist, Melissa Victor, did not offer an immediate comment. Beiber was nabbed and taken into custody soon after 4 a.m. Eastern Time, Thursday morning. Police said Beiber, who was, of course, we know, born in London, Ontario, raised in nearby Stratford, but now lives in the Los Angeles area, has had several incidents with law enforcement officials in the past month. In Miami, he had been racing a rented yellow Lamborghini alongside a red Ferrari driven by a friend identified as rhythm and blues singer Khalil. At a morning news conference, Miami Beach Police Chief Raymond Martinez, said Beiber was a little belligerent, questioning, using some choice words on why he had been stopped. Martinez said Beiber was tested and acknowledged that he had been smoking marijuana and drinking beer and had taken a prescription medicine. The chief said he didn't know the nature of the prescription drug. He also said Beiber was using an invalid Georgia driver's license. Beiber's blood alcohol levels weren't released. The racing consisted of going from a standing start on Pine Tree Drive, a residential area where the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour, to approximately 100 kilometers an hour, Martinez said. Once he was here at the station, he was very cooperative, Martinez said. We did not have any issues with him. However, the arresting officer's statement, released at about 11 a.m., said Beiber was directed to get out of the Lamborghini once the officer saw his bloodshot eyes and smelled alcohol. Beiber said to him, "Why the F are you doing this?" Once Beiber got out of the car, the officer asked him to put his hands on the vehicle and keep his hands out of his pockets. Fearing that the driver might have a weapon or contraband, I asked the driver to place his hands on his vehicle in order to facilitate a cursory pat-down for weapons, the statement said. Beiber responded, "What the F did I do? Why did you stop me?" The pop star was asked again to put his hands on the car. Beiber complied, but soon removed them and turned to face the officer. Beiber is quoted as then saying, "I ain't got no effing weapons. Why do you have to search me? What the F is this all about?" And after Beiber had 3 times failed to keep his hands on the car, the officer took his right hand, put him under arrest. Beiber tried to pull away, but was then taken into custody with no further incident. The officer gave Beiber a standardized field sobriety test on a flat, well-lit surface. Beiber did not perform to standards, the officer's statement says. Beiber had been in the Miami area for a few days and had reportedly been visiting a club on Lincoln Road on Wednesday night. Earlier reports indicated the musician's entourage had used their cars to block traffic on Pine Tree Drive at 26th Street, creating a drag strip for Beiber. So, well, it's been an interesting month for Beiber. And, you know, that part is very scary. There he is under the influence, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And his entourage is enabling him by cordoning off the area so they can have this drag race. And, you know, when you talk about enabling in the addiction field, it means that the parents, the family, whatever, enables him because they allow him to continue to do what he's doing, and nobody's putting a stop to it. And so this is what's happening with Justin Bieber. And his mother this morning was quoted as saying she wants everybody to pray for her son. Well, she needs to go to Miami and sit with him and give some tough love and straighten him out, because the potential here is that Bieber could face a 6-month jail sentence. That's what it is in Florida if you're caught with a DUI. I mean, not only could he, and the jail might be the best thing. I'm not saying it's the only thing for Justin Bieber, but it might be. And we're going to draw a parallel to somebody older than him, but in the same situation. And that's the mayor of Toronto. Both of these guys are heading downhill, and whether it's Rob Fort's brother or mother or Justin Bieber's mother, they're turning it over to everybody else. Nobody's helping him by getting him off the street, so to speak, and out of the mayor's office and into a rehab center. So this is what we're faced with in this country now. It's been embarrassing, and but at any rate, this is Rob Fort's an embarrassment. That's true, but he's a big guy. I mean physically big, but he's old enough to understand and know what he's doing. Justin Bieber's only 19 years old, so he's still a kid. At any rate, so I think somebody has to step up, and the most logical person is his mother. However, Bieber, this past month, he's had an active month with the U.S. law enforcement officials. On January 4th, detectives from the L.A. Sheriff's Department found drugs and arrested an associate of the singer during a search of Bieber's home. The officers were looking for evidence of an earlier egg-tossing vandalism incident, which is, minor compared to driving drunk, where you could actually kill somebody. Police noted that Bieber, his security, and entourage cooperated fully with the search, but did not make an official statement. The singer was neither arrested nor exonerated in the felony vandalism incident. So Bieber, as you know, now lives in a gated community in Calabasas, a celebrity enclave northwest of downtown L.A. Last October, prosecutors declined to charge Bieber after a neighbor complained he drove recklessly through the area. And then in November 2012, prosecutors also declined to charge Bieber when the singer was accused of punching and hitting a man after leaving a Calabasas movie theater. Well, every time they let somebody, when they let you off the hook, you're not humbled, because you say, I can get away with anything, and my celebrity status will get me through all this. And that's kind of what's been happening here. So if it was just you and I, or a citizen, we'd be arrested, we'd be charged, we'd be in jail, we'd be in court, and we could face jail time. So this is an endless loop for Justin Bieber. So I really hope that, here's the other thing is Justin Bieber's immigration status, okay, what really can happen here? Can they charge him? Can he go to jail? Well, apparently Justin Bieber's immigration status likely won't be affected by his arrest in Florida on drag racing, DUI, and resisting arrest charges. According to U.S. immigration law, authorities do not revoke an individual's visa unless the person has been convicted of a violent crime or been sentenced to more than 1 year imprisonment. And immigration attorney Ira Kurzban says neither driving under the influence nor driving without a license can make an individual eligible for deportation, nor would either of those offenses keep Bieber from being readmitted into the U.S. Authorities say the Canadian singer was arrested. We know about the arrest, but he is still in Miami-Dade County Jail pending an initial court appearance. So it's possible that he could do some jail time there, quite possibly, but he'll be allowed to come back into the country unless he actually is sentenced and been convicted of a violent crime or been sentenced to more than 1 year imprisonment. From what I understand, there's only 6 months sentence for for what he's just been involved in. Anyways, that's our that's our Justin Bieber. That's our Justin Bieber story. So that's the story behind the headlines this morning with respect to Justin Bieber. Well, overnight also, let's take a look at Rob's world. Well, after denying that was a video of him, after his brother saying Rob has not had a setback, Rob Fort has now admitted. How many times have we heard this? I apologize. I admit it. Rob Fort has said a minor setback in his personal life was behind the release of a video this week showing him ranting incoherently and swearing in Jamaican slang words. But the Toronto mayor insisted at a press conference at City Hall on Wednesday that his private life does not interfere with his job and shouldn't impact the work of his fellow city councilors. I'm a human being. How many times have we heard that from Mr. Rob? This is Rob's world, really, and it's almost like, he's sort of saying, I live in my own little world, but it's okay because they know me here. Well, that's kind of what's going on in Rob's world. So, I'm a human being, he says, the same as every one of you, and I'm entitled to a personal life. My personal life does not interfere with the work I do day in and day out for the taxpayers of this great city, he said. Monday was unfortunate. I had a minor setback. We all experience these difficult bumps in life. Ford told reporters he would only respond to questions about Toronto's budget, but quickly stormed away. The mayor admitted this week that the bizarre clip posted on YouTube on Tuesday was filmed at a fast food restaurant the night before. He also finally confessed he had been drinking. Ford had vowed he was finished with alcohol after admitting in November to having smoked crack cocaine in a drunken stupor. Earlier on Wednesday, Ford got into a scuffle with members of the media after he charged through dozens of reporters and cameramen at City Hall in an effort to avoid talking about the embarrassing clip. A second video was also posted online, which may show Ford meeting with Alexander Lisi, a friend and an alleged drug dealer who is currently on bail. The mayor emerged from an executive committee meeting to find journalists crammed in a narrow hallway leading to his office. He ignored questions about alcohol, illegal drugs, and Lisa, and in no time grew frustrated with reporters. The mayor started pushing his way through the throng of journalists and sparked a shoving match by grabbing a photographer's lens. So, after the commotion, a Ford staffer scolded journalists for creating a dangerous health and safety hazard. The mayor's clash with reporters was reminiscent of when Ford's security detail got very physical with reporters after a press conference in November. So, okay, what do we make of Rob's world? Well, once again, we're in a situation where he continues to be enabled by his brother, by his mother. Rob's still his little brother or her little son, and he can do no wrong. And it's just unfolding like a soap opera reality show. The worst of a Canadian reality show is the embarrassment of Rob Ford. What's even more perplexing and embarrassing is that after this bizarre incident, after the YouTube exposure, all of this stuff, and yesterday with Rob Ford, the Economic Club of Canada get this. It still invites him to address. They don't cancel the event. As a matter of fact, the event, I just looked at their website, is sold out. $89 a pop to go, or $990 for a table. Why on earth would the Economic Club of Canada want to have their name associated and tainted with this runaway wreck of not just a mayor, but of a man? Yes, he is a human being. I feel sorry for the man, but you can only feel sorry for so long. It gets to a point where if this was a loved one, you'd say, hey, get some help. It's almost like you need to be humbled, or God forbid you're in a car accident, like could have happened to Justin Bieber, and it could be all over in a heartbeat, and you'll lose a family member. But anyways, everybody continues to enable this guy. Everybody's gentle. We're patient. We're a gentle people. Economic Club of Canada, where's your head? And now I'm looking. They've got a live feed of the speech on CBC. I've just got it over here. I haven't picked up on it yet. I haven't been able to watch it, but it's going to go on our newspaper sites. You'll be able to see it on the Peachland Radio Waves website. I have a link to the live feed. So anyway, so he's addressing the Economic Club, and so the question is, how much personal privacy should Rob Ford expect? Do you think? Well, there's been a whole long list of controversies that's landed on Mayor Ford on the late night comedy circuit, the city's naughty list, highly embarrassing incidents that have been reported around the world. And, the latest continuing saga is the emergence of more, footage of the mayor and etc. So when he says, what I do in my personal life with my personal friends, that's up to me. It's my own time. Well, some of the people are finally standing up and saying, like a Toronto councillor, Michael Thompson, said the latest episode demonstrated that Ford is no longer fit for office and called for him to step down. But that's not good enough. The footage and the ensuing criticism has reignited the age-old debate over how much privacy a public figure can expect to have. Well, since he was elected to mayor, to the office, Mayor Ford has sometimes sought to keep his private life out of the public eye. But critics argue that his personal style has also succeeded in blurring the lines, and that he has brought many of these so-called intrusions on himself. For example, he has a reputation for handing out his personal phone number and email addresses so that Torontonians can contact him at will. Ford has said that he's determined to serve the city and that he's open to comments, criticism, and questions. You know, he's been quoted as saying, "I'm always available. It's pretty hard to hide 300 pounds of fun," he said at the beginning of his term. So the mayor has blurred the lines, however, but by using official City Hall letterheads to pen letters of reference for personal friends and sometimes convicted criminals, and solicit donations for his football foundation. He also, appears to have used his clout with the Toronto Transit Commission on one occasion to reroute city buses to pick up the football team he coached, when an incident at a game resulted in a call to police. So many of these incidents seem to roll off the mayor's back, but since finally admitting in November that he had indeed smoked crack cocaine, as Gawker and the Toronto Star had at first alleged, Ford's private life came under even more scrutiny. So where does he draw the line? Well, a pollster, Michael Marzolini at Polaris Strategic Insights, offered these comments. There are limits to what the public is willing to accept, even when it comes to reporting on public figures. When asked about things like hair transplants, the public says, "We don't have a right to know that. That's not in our interest. What is in our interest is our character issues," he says. According to Marzolini, Canadians in general are not fussed about the private lives of politicians unless there is a perceived moral fault that could affect their judgment. Read between the lines, a moral fault, not just with Rob Ford, but our Prime Minister as well. Historical leaders such as former U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower and John F. Kennedy had affairs, but their private lives were not dragged into the public sphere as they are today. Marzolini observes there was a tacit understanding between politicians and the press gallery. But the media has changed and has set its own boundaries and ethics, he says. There was no real breaking of the dam. It's just been a slow evolution. The public demand is changing. They want to know, not because it's salacious, but because they want to know the character of the people governing them. That's when I rant about Stephen Harper. It's not about him as a character, but what he has demonstrated. They say to people, words mean nothing. Actions speak louder than words. In Marzolini's view, the transition to transparency can be partially credited to the onslaught of reality TV shows, but it's clear the cell phone revolution has played a role as well. I think it's fair to say that there is an expectation when you're the mayor of the city that you're 24/7, because emergencies can strike at any time and you have to be in a position to respond and lead. So, we live in an age where there are cameras everywhere and there is an expectation of leadership. So, I think the mayor, like him or not, deserves a degree of privacy. And this is according, to Adam Jambaroni. I may be pronouncing it wrong. He's another candidate who went up against Ford in the 2010 mayoralty election. He knows about private lives and under private scrutiny. He was forced to drop out of the race after a newspaper published an interview with a student who was having an affair with him, who was engaged to someone else at the time. When you're at a restaurant, people are going to be aware of your presence, he said. You do deserve some privacy. You deserve some chances to relax. But a lack of privacy goes part and parcel with the job. So, that's Mr. Ford today. That's Rob's world. And I think we've said enough about Rob's world. All right, how about Stevie's world? What's happening with Mrs. Harper's little son, Stevie? Well, he decided that he was going to pledge read my lips, watch my lips, $105 million in development aid for Jordan. Interesting. Okay? He's handing out money like it was Christmas. Unfortunately, it's not his money. Why on earth, you ask? Well, he needs friends. I told you that 3 days ago, in this whole fifth day of the Middle Eastern tour, he's been able to dole out money at will to gain friends, because he has very few friends left in Canada. So he met with Jordan's King Abdullah last night, the fifth day of his Middle East tour, and announced additional funding and support to the Muslim kingdom to help it deal with challenges arising from the Syrian crisis. The money will be used to deal with an influx of refugees and respond to threats posed by Syrian weapons. Canada will provide $105 million to Jordan over the next 5 years. Of that, $100 million will be earmarked for economic development and basic services such as delivering better education to Jordanians and Syrian refugees. The remaining $5 million will be for critical equipment, infrastructure, technology, and training to combat the threat of Syrian weapons. Harper also met with Jordanian Prime Minister Abdullah Ansor while in Amman. That's interesting. Each time Harper gives money, his entourage, his aides, offer no details of when and how the money will be given or spent. This is the third commitment he's made in the Middle East. And each time, when asked how and when this will take place, and based on the history, by the way, of this government, whether it's aid to Haiti or whatever it is, they've always been slow in paying their bills. So he promises everything, promises the moon. He's like, the typical drunken sailor. Yeah, we'll do all this, we'll do all that. So it's gotten ridiculous. What can I say? I appreciate what's happening in the Middle East. Absolutely, we all do. We're all sympathetic. There are close to 600,000 registered Syrian refugees in Jordan, representing 9% of the overall population. And according to experts, the number could be much larger, as many Syrians are seeking shelter and are unregistered. There's more than 2 million Syrians that have fled the war-torn country and are living as registered refugees in neighboring countries. So, but what are you going to do? I mean, what can we, as a small country, I use the term small C country. Canada is a small country, folks. Most of Canada is land. There's 4 major cities in all of Canada. This is not China. We don't have the population. This is not America. We don't have the population. Okay? You've got a population base centered in the core of 4 major cities in this country. The rest is spread out over Saskatchewan and Manitoba and Alberta, small towns, farming communities. The length to which Stephen Harper is going to build his own narcissistic plan for having a friend, for gaining recognition, who knows? Anyways, on that topic, and I'm just going to check to see that we don't run out of time, my friends. I'm about 6 minutes left here on the show this morning. Okay, real quickly, we finally got. Remember that guy off camera that was joking about the Western Wall re-election? Thank God CTV had their microphone on when Harper and his entourage were at the Western Wall. It was Mark Adler, the Conservative MP, who cited re-election when he pleaded for a photo with Prime Minister Stephen Harper in front of Israel's Western Wall. Says he was being tongue-in-cheek. Really? Tongue-in-cheek? He says, "You guys don't get a joke, huh?" He said to reporters traveling in the Middle East with Harper. "It's all said in tongue-in-cheek. Tongue-in-cheek, guys, come on." He had a brief exchange with reporters lasting under 30 seconds before telling me he was being called away. The day before, Adler was caught on microphone asking Jeremy Hunt, one of Harper's staffers, whether he could get a photo with Harper in front of the wall, a holy site for Jewish prayer. Jeremy, Adler said, "Can we get in?" "No," Hunt replied. Adler was undeterred. It's the re-election. This is the $1 million shot, Adler said. Yeah. The MP then asked whether Hunt could get Harper over to shake his hand once he was done at the wall. While Hunt's ultimate response wasn't caught on tape, it doesn't appear Adler got his wish. He later tweeted a photo showing himself and Harper amid a crowd leaving the wall. Adler is part of Harper's official delegation to Israel and tweeted that he was going to an official dinner with Israeli Prime Minister the Israeli prime minister. How many more of these guys, gals, whoever you want to call in his entourage are there for their own personal reasons? It has nothing to do with the sympathy towards the Jewish Holocaust, the sympathy towards Israel. It's got nothing to do with it. This is purely political, ladies and gentlemen. We all know it. Okay? That's the truth. And it's the same with Stephen Harper touching the wall with his yarmulke on. I'm saying all this because I really am fervent about this. And I've told you before that I'm speaking from experience because my grandparents died in the Holocaust. They went to the concentration camps. I was also victimized through racial slurs, dirty Jew, anti-Semitic responses when I was a kid growing up in Edmonton. So I'm very familiar with this. This is an intimate relationship I have with the Jewish people. They're my people. But when something like this happens, it really infuriates me to see how easily and gullible my Israeli friends are there talking about how wonderful it is that Stephen Harper's there and he's the best friend that Israel has. It's all political. And it's for Stephen Harper's own. Yeah, here's something that I want to find. Thank God for Rick Mercer, by the way. He finally went on with a rant on TV. Slams the Tories for. You got to see this. I put it on our Radio Waves website, the Radio Waves newspaper site. He said, this is what he said. Rick Mercer says he thinks we've officially entered a world of unicorns and magic beans. His proof? The fact that the Harper government spent $2.5 million advertising a jobs program that doesn't even exist. The CBC comedian unleashed a rant Tuesday, ripping apart the Tories for spending big last spring to advertise the Canada Job Grant, a controversial program announced in the last federal budget, which may never come into being unless the provinces and territories get on board. Our government spent $2.5 million advertising a job creation program that does not exist. It doesn't exist, folks. As in, it's a fiction. It's a pretend thing, Mercer said. $2.5 million advertising something that is not real. Just saying it loud sounds like the ravings of a mad person. Mercer makes the point that heads would roll if such false advertising occurred in the private sector. It's a criminal offense. If Ford Motors advertised a car that runs on water and floats on air in the middle of the Super Bowl, the president would be fired and then institutionalized, he said. Mercer also took dead aim at Employment Minister Jason Kenney, the man in charge of pretend programs, and the Prime Minister himself for defending the ad blitz as money well spent. This is the leader of our country. This is a man who is offering millions and millions on the world stage to countries. This is a man who endorses a fake ad campaign. No program exists. It's a pretend program. Okay? And so Mercer said, this ought to make Canadians angry. The only reason a government would advertise a program that does not exist is because they believed people were too stupid to tell the difference or too beaten to care, Mercer said. And if we don't get angry about this one, they will be right. And folks, I hate to say that we are too beaten to care anymore. Look how we've allowed and how we've enabled our Stephen Harper. We have enabled him. Nobody is standing up to him. And it takes, when you're a bully on the playground, unless somebody stands up to that bully, he will continue to act unabated. But there's someone else who wouldn't be happy with such allegedly wasted money. The Stephen Harper of 2002. Because guess what? On Harper's first day as opposition leader with the Liberal sponsorship scandal beginning to pick up steam, the former Canadian Alliance leader called out the government during his first question period for what he saw as wasteful advertising. Will the Prime Minister stop the waste and abuse right now and order a freeze of all discretionary government advertising? Young Harper wondered. So, are you angry the government spent millions advertising a program that doesn't exist? You ought to be. And if not, then we are all, you and everyone else is participating in enabling this Prime Minister to continue to operate in this fashion with our money. All right, stay tuned. I'm done. Stay tuned for the rest of the story with Paul Harvey. Just click on the link below. Have a great day. We'll see you all tomorrow.